And welcome to the Daily Space Weather. We'll be bringing some Earth weather as well toward the end of the video. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Let's do it. We've got a sort of a small reduction here in solar activity in the past 24 hours. This is yesterday plus today in composite from SDO. 3 wavelengths there. 2 species of ionized iron, 1 species of ionized helium. Coronal holes rotating in here. NOAA expecting the month of September to end with a mild geomagnetic storm from a coronal hole high-speed stream. Here is your SDO intensity gram. New sunspot did get a name there. That's 3,111 in the upper left corner, the northeastern quadrant. Here's your colorized magnetogram from yesterday plus today. Things here mostly stable over the past 24 hours. What's not been stable is seismicity. First, we're going to cover volcanism. Abico's erupting, producing a 7,000-foot ash plume. Subanose-jima, 3,000-foot ash plume as Subanose-jima explodes. Semeru exploding, 14,000-foot ash plume over East Java, Indonesia from Semeru. It's a 14,000, flight level 140. Taupo. Seismic activity continues under Lake Taupo at a reduced rate, although last week the volcanic alert level for the volcano was raised to level 1. So Lake Taupo volcano, also some ground uplift there. 60 plus or minus 20 millimeters per year since May of this year. Popocatépetl also exploding, flight level 200. It's a 20,000-foot ash plume over central Mexico. 22,000-foot ash plume from Nevado del Ruiz over Colombia as it explodes. Sangay exploding, 22,000-foot ash plume over Ecuador from Sangay. 15,000-foot ash plume over Ecuador from Revenador as it explodes. Sabancaya exploding, flight level 240 over Peru. And Piton de la Fournaise on the Isle of Réunion continues its eruption here with effusive eruptive activity. Small lava fountains, no indication of a volcanic ash plume, but you heard it here first. Please don't pole vault the caldera. Next, looking at seismicity, and we've got continued activity here in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, the northern part of it. The Recanes Ridge, check it out, in the last 24, all of those earthquakes happened right there around the Charlie Gibbs fracture zone region. You can see all those quakes there concentrated right on, mainly on the east side of the fault line. Huge quake swarm there in the North Atlantic. So we're going to scroll up the list here. No really huge quakes over the past 24 hours, but that's a continuing story there. All of those quakes southeast of Greenland there. Looks like there was one decent-sized quake in Mexico also. Turkey had a 5.3. That happened at 14:08 Universal Time yesterday. There was also a Mid-Atlantic Ridge quake closer to the Central Atlantic there. That was a 5.0. So huge amount of activity there at the Recanes Ridge. That quake in Mexico was a 5.4 magnitude. And let us know in the comments if you think those Recanes Ridge quakes are some kind of a foreshock. Loyalty Islands had a 5.4 and South Sandwich Islands had a 5.2. Indeed, one of those quakes at Recanes Ridge was a 5.0, so let us know if you think there's a big earthquake about to happen there. We are always interested in your comments. So next we're looking at the last 48 hours. In the heck? Looking at the last 48 hours here from SDO. There we go. One of the house favorite wavelengths there, 304 angstroms. And next we'll talk about the 10.7 centimeter radial flux. Now the 10.7 centimeter radial flux, it comes from the upper chromosphere and lower corona, right about where my pointer is located. And it coincides with sunspot number, as you can see here on the 1-year chart from solon.info. You can see how proportional that is to sunspot number. And at the moment it's at 135 solar flux units. So it's actually flattened out here at 135. We also do see a heightened solar wind speed, which we'll get to here in a moment. And as you can see here, NOAA expecting a coronal hole high-speed stream to end the month of September with geomagnetic storm conditions. So late in the day there on September 30th, expecting a G1 geomagnetic storm there from another high-speed coronal hole. We'll get to it. Here's the Earth geospace for the past 4 hours. We are seeing some funky data. We're going to actually show you 2 different data sources for the solar wind here in a moment. That's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. You can see some likely gyrations happening there in the solar wind. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground, and it's quite geomagnetically calm here at the moment, apparently. The ground magnetic perturbations map shows geospace delta B, which is changes to Earth's B field. Not a lot of changes happening here at the moment. If you were hoping for the world to end, it's still not happening. We'll let that play all the way through here to get the full 4 hours consecutively since it refreshed. Planetary K-index at 1. That's a measurement of global geomagnetism. Again, things quite geomagnetically calm at the moment. We have some funky data here in the real-time solar wind. So you can see this long yellow bar at the bottom. That is an error suspect. So not sure if that's legit. We're going to show a second source here. Right now it's showing the data from the Discover. We'll also show the ACE. So current solar wind speed at 543 kilometers per second. Solar wind density 9.3 protons per cubic centimeter. And here's the data from ACE, showing a very low solar wind density there, below 1 proton per cubic centimeter, which is enough to convince the instrument that it is seeing errors in the data. Also a recent dip here in the solar wind speed. Looks like it could be the end of that coronal hole high-speed stream. Also the plasma temperature dipping there at the end of the 24-hour graph. We'll be having to keep an eye on that throughout the day to see if it is looking legit. Here are the GOES magnetometers here. They're in kind of a tight range over the past about 12 hours. Pretty low highs and pretty high lows at the moment. The GOES 16 and GOES 17 are geosynchronous near equatorial satellites. Those N's and M's at the top stand for noon and midnight local time for the satellite. Next we're going to look at the heliospheric current sheet. Earth remains in a North Pole current sheet. There may be a South Pole current sheet coming through soon here in the next couple of days. We'll keep you posted on that here at the Daily Space Weather. Next, the line of sight field plot showing the sun's B field in blue, north solar polar field in green, south solar polar field in red. And how about some coronal hole information? There is the latest line of sight coronal hole plot. And those well-defined coronal holes rotating in here on the east, those are North Pole-oriented coronal holes. So let's take a look at that in 211 angstroms. Very well-defined coronal holes there. That is yesterday plus today's data. Let's zoom in a little bit since they are so well-defined. Spectacular imagery there from SDO. Next we'll move to sunspots, which have been mostly stable here. But first, let's pause for station identification. This is the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Please support the channel by visiting our links. You can find the links below the video and on the homepage, smashomash.com, and welcome to the Neo Renaissance. There's a sale going on in the merch shop. You can find links to that on the homepage and below the video as well. We'll get to that in a moment. Again, visit our links there. You can find a bunch of links on the homepage and below the video. One of the links you'll find on the homepage is the link to SureMed. Yes. Consider improving your health with a membership to SureMed, otherwise known as the American Better Health Organization, which affords you all kinds of services and discounts. The services include things like doctors by phone, counselors by phone, even virtual veterinarians, because we realize that your pet's health impacts your own health. Also, discounts on dental services, vision services, labs, CT scans. Check out the retail and mail-order pharmacy. The SureMed base membership is not insurance. However, it is a group membership that does allow you access to certain insurance products only available to SureMed members, so check it out. Again, links below the video and on the homepage. If you want to support the channel via subscription services, consider becoming a member of the Smash team. Thanks to the Smash team for being executive producers of the content. Those at the gold and silver level do receive additional services. The best value is the gold annual paid-up subscription, where we send complimentary merch at smashomash.com/smashteam. We also send out email alerts about disasters, and there was no need to send any out about the Florida hurricane. Everybody was quite well informed about that. If you do want to check out the merch, visit the links below the video or on the homepage at smashomash.com. And don't forget to enter the promo code CHANGEITUP30 to save 30% site-wide on everything. So there are the designs in order of best-selling. It looks like Universum Liberate has moved up to the 4th, 5th position there. Universum Liberate is indeed today's featured product, the motto of the Galactic Federation Special Forces. I'm wearing it. Also the Mensa hat, because, hey, we're not only concerned with making Earth not suck again and making America not suck again, we are interested in making the galaxy not suck again. So that's the motto of the Galactic Federation Special Forces, Universum Liberate. Enter the promo code CHANGEITUP30 through the day today. CHANGEITUP30 to save 30% site-wide. The Galactic Federation Special Forces symbolism, that's the unit patch. It refers to the galaxy, signal strength and security, also signal integrity, because we have some on the channel. Integrity, that is, also ethics. And also it represents instantaneous galactic scale reach. If you want to freak out your friends and foes, say Universum Liberate. They might accuse you of being in the Illuminati. Make sure you don't advise them otherwise. Because what they don't know probably can't hurt you. If you could wave your magic wand, wouldn't you set everybody free? Thanks to our subscribers over on YouTube. If you're watching on BitChute, make sure you subscribe over on YouTube. You're missing much of the content. You won't find playlists on BitChute like you will on YouTube. And there is all kinds of videos that aren't about space weather on the channel as well, like interviews and shout-outs, gaming videos, driving, riding, and pro tips. Do one thing and lots more. Terms defined. All kinds of stuff. Once again, thanks to our YouTube subscribers. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, press subscribe, like, share, etc. Leave us a comment. Thanks to everybody who has tolerated the pathetic censorship on the platform over the past 5+ years. And let's get to sunspots. Again, we have this quite high latitude sunspot showing up here, indicating that we are nowhere near solar maximum yet. Still a couple years to go, as we can expect solar activity to continue to ramp up. Sunspots have been mostly stable here over the past 24 hours, and the most likely place to see major flares would be from sunspot 3107. It's quite magnetically complex. We'll show you some high-def imagery of that toward the end of the video. First, the SDO intensity gram. So here's the SDO intensity gram. That is yesterday plus today. Again, those sunspots mostly stable here over the past 24 hours. Next, we'll move into flaring. The proton flux here, just a minor little perturbation there in the proton flux, nothing to write home about. Flaring has diminished here over the past 24 hours, so there's your X-ray flare profile from the GOES 16 and GOES 17. And let's take a look at the closest star here in 94 angstroms. One of the two best wavelengths to view solar flaring activity. And give that a minute to load. It's well worth it. "94 angstroms and 131 angstroms are specifically designed to view solar flares. They take 10 images per minute instead of only 2 like the rest of the wavelengths. And we do have some CMEs to cover as well. We'll let you know where they're headed later in the video. First, a star chart. Mars high in the sky here over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Looks like Venus is just rising. Oh, that's Mercury rising. There you go. Mercury rising ahead of the sun there. And Jupiter about to set on the western horizon. Here's your solar system forecast. We're going to show you 1 week. Here's where things will be in a week. We will have a gibbous waxing moon. And let's take a look at some coronagraphs. Let me just check and see if there's any new coronagraph imagery here. Nope. So here's yesterday's coronagraph imagery from George Mason University. And let's show you some additional data here, the stereo A difference imagery. Because there is some activity kicking off, it is on the opposite side of the sun, so nothing on the earthly zone here. Things are quite calm on the Earth side, it looks like. Also Venus showing up there on the stereo A images. That's a stereo A coronagraph on the left. The difference imagery on the right. Stereo A is located here at Lagrange 5. Trailing the Earth orbitally speaking, but seeing space weather ahead of the Earth, hence stereo A for ahead. And for some reason, the SOHO-LASCO imagery is quite outdated here at the Space Weather Prediction Center. Let's just ignore that, since it's ending at late in the day yesterday. So we'll just leave that alone and move to hydrogen alpha imagery from El Teide, Spain. So lots of filaments here. Don't be surprised to see some Earth-directed coronal mass ejections here. We do have a lot of filaments here in the earthly zone. You see all those dark features up there and down here. Those are all huge plasma filaments. Remember, folks, we don't need sunspots or solar flares to see coronal mass ejections. Next, the last about 2.5 hours here from the GOES 16 SUVI. There is a huge prominence up here in the northeast, behind sunspot 3111. And how about some more imagery here? This is yesterday plus today in ionized iron. So there is some activity happening around this sunspot here. We do see a little bit of output there from that. So that is something to watch as well. And don't worry, folks, we're going to get to weather here momentarily. First, our bonus feature segment. Charging hazards are non-existent, so for satellites, it is clear sailing, unlike the waters of the Gulf, especially the Eastern Gulf, which is far from clear sailing. The electron flux here continues to be dipped. Quite low levels of electron flux there, as we typically do see during coronal hole high-speed streams. Here's the forecast model, and indeed you can see it's well below NOAA's forecast, as we forecasted yesterday. The yellow diamonds are the observation, the green squares are the forecast. Here's the one-year chart to put that in context. Again, quite low levels of electron flux there as reported by Solon.info. Let's take a look at the F layer of the ionosphere, as there are some major anomalies happening. Some huge swings. You'll see it on the anomalygram. This is the intensitygram. You can see some high-frequency anomalies happening there in the central Atlantic Ocean over South America and so on. It may be more obvious in the anomalygram, which we will show next. So that's the vibrational frequency, the raw data from Australian Government Bureau Meteorology. Here is the anomalygram. You can see low-frequency anomalies there in red, high-frequency ones in blue. Some low-frequency anomalies there over places like Mexico and the Central Pacific. Major high-frequency anomalies there over the South Atlantic, South American continent. It's anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. There's the latest image, 10:15 Universal Time. Ionogram and anomalygram. We'll also show the total electron content forecast. It is the free electrons in between your GPS satellite and your handset. Your GPS satellite must communicate through a plasmasphere, represented here, the Van Allen belt, sometimes represented here, the inner plasmasphere, and the ionosphere. And the free electrons can refract the signal. Let's see how that's working out. This is your total electron content forecast, showing you the most likely places for GPS errors. It's the coupled thermosphere, ionosphere, plasmasphere electrodynamics. Next, the latest solar intensitygram and solar magnetogram, as we are wont to show at the end of the videos. There you go. There's the rock back. Again, things mostly stable here in terms of sunspots. No major changes, hence the term stable. And let's show the yesterday plus today imagery in 171 angstroms. So that's September 27th and 28th so far. The spectacular high-res imagery there from SDO. And that is where we'll end the space weather section. It's time to begin the meteorology segment, which should be pretty interesting indeed, as we've got some epic weather. Shout out to our viewers from Florida. We are delighted that you're able to see the content. And thanks for leaving a comment, Tinman1057. Good morning to you as well. So the first thing we're going to look at here is sea surface temperature, because there's some very hot water there in the Eastern Gulf. So let's take a look at it here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, as the eye of that hurricane is over 86-degree water. So what's going to happen here is it's going to move a little north, and then it's going to suddenly move to the east, and it's going to de-intensify the winds, but that's not going to stop the rains. So the amount of rain Florida's going to get here is going to be shocking, and we hope everybody has evacuated as recommended by your local authorities. And we hope that some of our viewers are able to be assets instead of liabilities during such a disastrous amount of water showing up. But that's the current state of affairs as far as the sea surface temperatures. That hot water over the eastern Gulf not helping things out, aiding into convection. Now, again, the winds are going to suddenly de-intensify as that makes a turn to the east, but that's not going to stop shocking amounts of rain. We'll get to the rain forecast here in a moment. First, we're going to show what we show most days, the surface winds and jet streams around the planet. So there you have the surface winds of the east. Here are the jet streams of the east. Jet streams of the western world. Surface winds of the western world. And the nullschool.net map is indeed showing at least 85 mile per hour winds there. Probably a little bit higher, but the nullschool.net map often underestimates the wind speeds. Here are the surface winds of the central world, and here are the jet streams. If you head to your weather.gov map, you'll see Florida is lit up with all kinds of warnings. There are even some tornado warnings there in the southeastern portion of the state. Massive freeze and frost warnings there. Freeze warnings and frost advisories in a large portion of the north-central U.S. But of course, the story is indeed Florida. So tropical storm warnings, hurricane warnings, tornado warnings, hurricane watches, storm surge warnings. If your county or area is lit, click your county at weather.gov. We'll give you the forecasts for the storm track here. South Carolina, you're in the crosshairs. So here's your 72-hour pressure and precipitation forecast. And again, that hurricane is expected to make a turn to the east and then go almost due north, and then actually turn to the west a little bit, bringing massive rains to Georgia and South Carolina as well. Here's your total accumulated precipitation forecast based on the GFS model. That's the 72-hour total accumulated precipitation forecast. And large areas expecting as much as 2 feet of rain there. That's the northeastern portion of Florida. And 2 feet of rain is a little bit more than a flat area like Florida can handle. That will hang around for a long time and be a complete disaster. So a huge swath of very heavy rains there expected. That yellow area, that is over 16 inches of rain there. So that's a shocking amount of water. And the GFS forecast for the next 72 hours not likely to be incorrect. So heed that warning. Once again, shout out to our viewers from Florida. Here is your pressure and wind forecast. Again, you're going to see the wind de-intensify as the low moves over land, and then it's going to re-intensify a little bit before crashing into South Carolina. So the winds will kick back up there in about 2 days. That's your likely storm track. We're also going to show you the European forecast. So that's the GFS 72-hour pressure and wind forecast. And here is the Euro forecast. So this is just showing pressure here. And let's advance this 3 days. So the Euro model there showing pretty similar track. Pretty similar intensification, and expecting landfall there right around the South Carolina-Georgia border. Continuing on to our lightning mapper, there's the last about 10 hours of lightning. Quite a strong lightning signal there around the center of that hurricane. Give that a minute to spool up. And let's check out a real-time lightning map. Are there any terrestrial strikes in the U.S.? Indeed. At least one lightning strike there around northern Florida at the Mallory Swamp. Next time you hear thunder, check it out. lightningmaps.org. It could save your you-know-what. So here's the current Doppler radar situation. Again, very heavy rains there over central Florida. And lots more to come. And let's zoom out. We'll show the full 50 states view here briefly, as there's some precipitation showing up in Alaska as well. We'll focus on the lower 48 for the remainder of the video. Here is a shortwave radiation map showing clouds and fog. And here is water vapor. Now this dry mass of air right here is helping to constrain the system. It is not aiding it, but it is helping to push it to the east. So basically that dry mass of air is sort of saving the Florida Panhandle and causing havoc on the rest of the state. Kind of forcing the storm to sort of take this path. We're actually going to zoom in to close out the video today. There's what's going on at the moment. Things clearing up here for southern Florida. Places like Miami only seeing some showers at this point. Here is clouds and fog. 3.9 nanometer infrared radiation. And there is the water vapor map. Yousers. That is a lot of moisture. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. Once again, we hope you're an asset, not a liability, in the event of a disaster. And may that solar wind be at your back.